Luke, let's start with last Saturday. You said after the Barnet game that the title race was over. Not looking realistic in terms of catching Wrexham. Having reflected on that, is that still the feeling?
I think that the point I'm trying to make is that it's out of our hands. It's out of our hands because now even if we go there and win, we then need some help elsewhere, and it is not completely down to us. So imagine if you can have an immaculate, perfect running to the end of the season and still not win the league. That would be very hard to accept. So I just need to let the players know and everyone that we know now that how difficult it can be, and we're still very much preparing to win every single game that we go into. And we know what our goal is, what our ultimate goal is.
Yeah, I suppose obviously the goal is to get promoted, but I suppose in some ways what you're saying as well is the fact that is it a mental preparation for the players just in case they miss out on winning the league and that they have to prepare for the playoffs and just to make sure that they don't lose sight of what the main target is after such a long and grueling and intense season.
Absolutely, and I think that the players have to now just focus in on the fact that they've performed at a very high level, and ordinarily they would be probably top of the league, not second, and it's the performances and the hard work that's got them to that level, and so they need to focus in on that and not feel like they've failed to achieve a goal by not winning the league, because there is a bigger goal at stake, and we have to remain focused on that. That of course means that if we prepare for every single game to go into that game and win it, and we put in the hard yards on the training pitch, that players recover away from the ground. They do everything within their power to give themselves the best chance of arriving well on a match day. We can go on a very good run of winning games, and then of course anything can happen. But we have to just recognise that we now are behind, and like I say, even with an immaculate running, we could still be behind.
Yeah, I suppose that's the tough part, isn't it, as well? Because like you say, you could win the rest of every game for the rest of the season and still miss out. But I suppose the onus is on you and the players to keep those standards high, just in case there's a slip up somewhere along the line for Wrexham.
Exactly. I mean, the message is not let's do nothing and see if we can turn it on later on in the playoffs or something. That's not the message at all. The message is let's not focus on things that we can't control. Let's focus on maintaining very high standards, as you said, and let's maintain our training levels and our attitude towards our work, and see how far that takes us. And yeah, of course, that there can be many twists in the tail between now and the end of the season. We know that. We just have to be mentally prepared to protect ourselves.
Yeah, we just spoke to Sam Slocum. He said that it sounds like at the moment you're preparing for each game the same way, but uh, now it's going to be a bit more aggression and a bit more intensity about it. Is that something that you're instilling in training and on a match day?
I think that we don't want to see a dip at all. And yeah, we need to try to look at the very best examples of how we've played this season, when we've been at our very best, and we have to home in on what we've done to create those performances, and make sure that we're fully focused on doing those things for the remainder of the season, because that's the best approach that we can have to try to win as many games as possible.
Yeah, who watched the Barnet game on Saturday from the commentary box, and they said it was right up there with one of the best away performances of the season, despite winning the game, particularly in the first half. He said that Notts were superb. How do you sort of take those positives from the Barnet game, for example, and bring those in for the final couple of games for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I thought the first half the players looked extremely good. I really did. I thought that they played the game they played the game to a very high level against a very competitive team in this division with a really good record. I really like Barnet a lot. I think they're a tough group of players and really energetic, motivated staff. I enjoyed the going up against them in the competition, and yeah, I thought the performance in the first half was exceptional, and I thought the performance in the second half from us was extremely poor. I was very disappointed. Barnet made it tougher for us, but I don't think we should have seen quite the swing that we saw from first to second half, and I don't think that's acceptable. And I've tried to translate that to the players in a responsible way. I don't want to be standing in front of them telling them they weren't good enough without being able to show evidence of the things that they didn't quite do well enough and where they slipped up and maybe some of the pitfalls that they fell into. And of course it's also important for me to highlight how fantastic they played in the first half, because I think they were value for 2 or 3 goals in the first half, if I'm honest. And so that was ultimately, at the end of it, was very, very disappointing.
Yeah. How do you find that balance as the head coach, sort of showing the players what they did really well and what they didn't do so well to learn from? Because of course, footballers, they want to hear stuff when they do really well and the things they do well on the pitch. But how do you sort of balance the things that they didn't do well with the things that they did well and make sure that they come away sort of learning game by game?
Well, I think first of all, you'd be surprised at this group. You really would, how prepared they are to take criticism. But I think that first I need to earn from the players. I need to earn the trust that they believe that when I'm standing in front of them telling them difficult things, that I'm not doing it from a knee jerk or an emotional stance. I'm doing it from a place of studying and hard work, and I'm trying to convince them. Rather than trying to lecture them, I'm trying to convince them that one way is better for them and helps them to win, and one way is not so helpful for them and creates more difficulty. But I think I want to work hard. I want the players to be able to visually see the hours that I'm putting in and the attention to detail. And if I do a good enough job, I really hope that they trust me, and there's a level of trust that they then believe that when I'm telling them stuff, good or bad, that I've considered it and I've spent time to study, and that I'm also aware of their human beings, and that I need to deliver even criticism in a responsible way. But unfortunately, it still has to be done. If you want to try to improve, it has to be done, and they are honestly, any head coach to work with this group would be very fortunate, and genuinely they would be very fortunate to work with this group of players.
Yeah, we spoke to Ruben Rodriguez yesterday on our show, and he spoke about yourself and the staff and the honesty that you've got with the players and that relationship between head coach and staff and players. How important has that been throughout the season, first of all, and how important is that going to be now for a very tough run of fixtures between now and the end of the campaign?
Yeah, very important. And when you're talking about a player like Ruben, it can actually be daunting for staff to try to attempt to improve a guy of that quality. But in order for us to feel like we'd done everything that we could to help the cause, we have to try to find margins to improve Ruben. And he is a really special player. I know I've said many times, but he is a special player. But the bit that is really for me that captivates me with him is that he is prepared to run hard. He's prepared to take criticism, and he's allowed us as a group of staff. He's allowed us to push him and to be critical. I mean, there's times when it's actually very difficult to find anything to criticise him for, but we search for something to try to push him as much as we possibly can. But ultimately, with the best will in the world, it comes down to the player and that player's personality as a guy. And he's an excellent footballer, and he's a really good guy to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Very finally, Luke, let's talk about Scunthorpe on Saturday. A big game, both sides with plenty to play for, and a big bumper crowd as well. Nearly over 13,000 tickets sold at Meadow Lane.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got everything to play for, as have we. Um, there isn't a better, there isn't a better setting to play a game of football in. Certainly in this division, and with this crowd, is going to be really special. It's difficult for me to know because it's actually a team we haven't played because they have so many new players. So the previous time we played Scunthorpe was irrelevant to us, and so now we're actually playing a team for the first time at this late stage in the season, which is remarkable. But we're trying to get a good grasp on them, and we know that it's going to be a very tough challenge. But as we spoke about earlier, we have to be ready to face all challenges and be strong enough to try to impose ourselves on the game.
Excellent stuff. Well, I wish you well for Saturday, Luke. Thank you very much for your time as always, and speak to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Luke. So I'll start with the draw at Barnet. So looking back at it, I know you don't want to dwell too much on the decisions made in that game, but have you seen Macaulay Langstaff's penalty appeal back in the first half, and what do you make of it?
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm not sure how we get a throw-in from it, but for me, I don't like to dwell on it because there's no way I'm not, but I must be biased. I must be because I'm the head coach of Notts and it's Macca, and I must be biased. But I watched it repeatedly, only yesterday actually for the first time. I watched it repeatedly and I was trying to check myself to see, try to look at it objectively, and I found it difficult, honestly, to come to any other conclusion than penalty. But again, like I say, that my opinion shouldn't be taken with any weight because I am biased. I'm sure, but I also felt that Ruben had a strong appeal for a penalty when he was pulled in the box, but it wasn't to be, and we needed to defend. We needed to defend a long throw-in better, and I think we wouldn't have to be talking about potential penalties.
Yep, no worries. And then just looking ahead to this weekend, obviously tomorrow is the deadline for finalising the squad for the remaining games of the season. Do you have any plans to add before tomorrow? Or are you quite happy with the current group of players that you've got?
Well, I think we've got a very good group of players. We're very happy with the group of players we have, but I think that there are options and potentially there will be, a late signing, maybe more. But as you know, I have a large volume of work to do with the players that are already here, and I've got very, very good people working with me here that will be heavily involved in the recruitment process and will bring me into that only at the time that it's completely relevant to me. So yeah, I've got full trust in everybody at the club that we do what is right.
Looking ahead to this weekend, just a bit of an injury update. Obviously, Aidan Bolden came off with an injury, and Richard Brindley's still not back as well, and then new signing Junior Marias as well. Just wanted to know what the latest update was on those three.
Yeah, so Richard Brindley trained today and yesterday, very, very good. So we're really optimistic with Brins returning very, very soon. Aidan is out on the grass, but he's not joining in full training yet, but he's approaching that point. So we expect Aidan to be back with us very, very soon. Junior is disappointing that the problem is a bit more serious than we anticipated, but he is on the grass, and today he's kicking the ball and moving very well on the grass. So we need to make sure that he's strong and completely clear of injury, and then there's some conditioning work that we need to do so that he can fulfil the role in the team when he goes on the pitch. But hopefully have a much clearer idea probably this time next week.
And then obviously this weekend you'll also be missing Tiernan Brooks and Jody Jones through international duty. Has that made preparations for this one a little bit more difficult?
Yeah, it's more difficult because Sam is still just recovering back now. Of course, we have Archie in there as well. He trained very, very well today, actually, very good. So we do have options, but ideally you want all of your players available. And then with Jody, is a really talented player, and we're trying to give him as many minutes as we can without him hitting a brick wall. I think maybe easily I maybe pushed a bit too much, and the first half I think he looked a bit tired, which is completely is normal, and it's down to me and the medical staff to get the appropriate minutes into Jody at the appropriate time. But he's a very talented player, very, very talented. We know that. So I would prefer that have everybody to choose from, and that guys can come off the bench and make a massive impact like they have so many times. But yeah, he's not to be, and we're really pleased for him. It's two very, very important games for his country. So we're delighted for him with that. But it does make things a bit more challenging.
And looking ahead to this weekend, the club and Scunthorpe have confirmed that there'll be a minute's applause in the 17th minute for the Scunthorpe fan Owen Newton. Such a sad story, and I just wanted to know how important is it to make sure that message is spread across the fans as well, and getting behind the applause and celebrating his life. Yeah,
it's just awful, and the one thing I'm sure of is that the reception at Meadow Lane will be brilliant, and it'd be delivered perfectly. I've got no doubt. And what a great place to have the game, and for so many people to show respect in that way. I hope it really is a good moment for the family. It's just awful. So yeah, we look forward to being able to show our support.